welcome to Hudson Valley Knits. I am Amy. I am also known as Memers on Ravelry and Memers66 on Instagram, and really not really on Twitter, but welcome. I'm down at Steamboat Dock, right down the street from where I live. It's my old fail-safe place to go record because it's so close to home and it's really just the perfect spot. But yeah, I came down here yesterday to record, and it was Eagle Fest yesterday. So the place was mobbed with people with like binoculars and all these cameras with lenses that were like 5 feet long. It was really crazy, and honestly, there aren't that many eagles around because it's been such a mild winter. Usually when there's a lot of ice on the river, you'll see eagles all over the ice waiting for a fish to go by and eat them up. But so yesterday I didn't record. It's Super Bowl Sunday, and after I finish recording, I'll be running out to the store to just get a few munchies. My son was going to watch it with me, but he's actually under the weather. He's got a bad cold and everything, so I think it's just going to be me. My husband doesn't watch football, believe it or not. So if you're watching the Super Bowl game, have fun. It's really, I like to watch football, but I'm not like a crazy football fan. I don't watch it all season long. I just generally watch the Super Bowl. But if there's a game on, I can sit and watch it and really enjoy it. Anyway, got some really cool stuff to talk about, at least stuff I'm excited about, and so I'll just get right to it. This is episode 59, by the way. 59. I've been podcasting for almost 3 years now. It's hard to believe. Not quite 3 years. My earliest episodes were only on YouTube. It was before I kind of hooked up with iTunes. And I was going through that because I finally figured out how to get more items on my iTunes feed. It was only showing for the longest time the latest 10 episodes, and I finally figured that out and fixed it. So, and you know, I'll put it out there. If you feel like so inclined and you enjoy the podcast, I would appreciate a nice review. It's really kind of exciting when you get a nice review and you know people are watching, and it's really cool. So anyway, let's get right to the knitting. One quick thing. I have to say that it's been 3 weeks since I podcast, and over the last 3 weeks there's been a lot of posts in the finished objects thread for the 2016 goals contest, and I just wanted to say that many of these posts were not legitimate. So I realized, because there were so many different people doing it, that I must not have communicated well. And so I really apologize. It's not fun when it's kind of awkward when you get an email or a PM from me saying, oh, you have to take your post down, sorry. And I hate doing that, but so my apologies if you got one of those messages. I really am sorry. I totally must not have communicated well. So I just want to reiterate the rules for the goals finished object thread. So it has to be that you only post in the finished object thread when you have completed the entire goal. No progress pictures and no posts until it's completed. So you can't, post something and say, well, I'll just keep updating it until it is complete. Just don't post there at all until the entire goal is complete, and then post all the projects that contributed to that goal. So for instance, if you have a goal like me to knit 6 pairs of socks, don't post in the finished object thread until all 6 pairs are complete, and then you post in the one post you'll put the picture of all 6 pairs of socks. And that's kind of how the rules go. And then also, just to reiterate, you can use the same project in more than one post. So for instance, you have your 6 pairs of socks, And if one of your other goals is to knit entirely from stash for the whole year, you can put that, and that sock is knit from stash. You can use that same pair of socks in both the post for the 6 pairs of socks and the post for the knit from stash. So you can double up and use the same project for more than one goal. The other thing I wanted to say, one more thing to keep in mind, is that the goals, the total yardage or weight of fiber for one goal must be at least 4 ounces. That's just to keep it so that, you know, the completion time is kind of fair going across the board. But if you knit a pair of socks using a 4-ounce skein of yarn and you don't use the entire skein, I'm not gonna go crazy and make you weigh your socks and prove to me they weigh 4 ounces. As long as it's close, I'm totally good with that. But I'm assuming, I'm thinking more in the lines of these are goals for a year. So I'm expecting to see goals where there's numerous projects, and meeting 4 ounces should not even be an issue. Unless it's something like learning a new technique, like say you want to learn brioche and your goal is to learn brioche and you knit a brioche hat using a 4-ounce skein of worsted weight and you post that as your goal completed, then that's understandable. But so if you have any questions or if you're confused about the rules for this, feel free to PM me, or better yet, post a question in the chat thread, which is the same thread where everybody posted what their goals are. That's meant for progress pictures. Any questions you have regarding the rules, post them in there, better yet, so that other people that might have the same question, I can answer it. Again, my apologies if there was any confusion. Now let's get to the sharing. So I have just 3 whips, no FOs, just 3 whips to talk about. Mostly since Vogue Knitting Live, I have been working on some really kind of just potato chip knitting, to borrow the phrase, just to relax, nothing super intense that requires a lot of my attention. And I also was excited participating in Diana from Suburban Stitcher podcast. She has her rainbow along. So I decided to cast on some after holiday knitting projects with some rainbow stuff that's been sitting in my stash for quite some time. This is a pair of rainbow themed socks. I'm knitting with a Fish Lips Kiss heel. I do the magic loop method, and I think these are one size 1 needles. That's my typical. Actually, these might be a little bigger, 1.5s. And this is this is a pattern by the woman that does Hedgehog fibers. I think Beata, Jezek, I think is how you say her name. And it's the Vestigial pattern. It's a free pattern, and it's really just a broken rib stitch pattern, so it's nice and stretchy. And the yarn is the FruJu colorway by Highland Handmade Sugar Maple Sock. It was a one-of-a-kind colorway she did to help raise money for Silly Fru when she was going through her leukemia treatment, and that's why it's called FruJu. So finally getting a chance to use this. I am still on the first sock, so this will definitely go towards the rainbow along at Suburban Stitcher podcast. I'm not sure if I'll be able to finish this by the end of February, but we'll see. I'm not stressing it. I did get the head start, so I might be able to swing it. The other thing I'm knitting that's also going towards the rainbow along, and this I am almost done with, so this I will definitely be able to get into the rainbow along. This is called the, let me get it up in my project page. This is using Plucky Knitter Snap Out of It colorway in the Plucky feet. I've got only, oh, there goes my yarn. Well, I'm not going to show you that right now because it just rolled into the sand. Plucky knitter feet. And then this is Leading Men's Fiber Arts and Squee colorway. I forget what the colorway name is. Oh my God, Squee is the name of the colorway. Very rainbow. The pattern is yarn Tamer, and it's basically a design by Louise Zass-Bangham, and it's designed to kind of tame the wild colored yarns, and by doing some kind of like a seed stitch pattern mixed in with some stockinette rows and switching colors, it does achieve that. So this, I only have a few more rounds to go. This is great watching TV movie. Basically, it's been with me when I watch Downton Abbey lately, and I really love it. I can't wait to wear this cowl. Great pattern. This pattern is from the book, what's the book's name? Let me get that for you. It's a great book full of it's an ebook with patterns that are great for really colorful, crazy yarns. It's Knit Play Color. Now, if you'll excuse me just one second, I'm going to pick up that skinny yarn I have to dry. I'm just glad it didn't land in goose dung. Because there's tons of that here. Hold on, I'm going to adjust this a little bit. Alright. Sorry. So that is my other whip, and like I said, it's all tangled up. I definitely believe that I can get this done by the end of February. This will be done actually probably in less than a week. And hopefully we'll be a FO for next podcast. Lastly, I have on the needles another very simple project. My son asked me for a hat, mitts, and scarf set. He said he wanted it black. I showed you that I had bought some yarn at Vogue Knitting Live, the Donegal tweed, in like a charcoal. He said he wanted black, and I got him like a charcoal color, tweedy charcoal. And this is just a plain pair of mitts. I'm just doing the thumb on the first one. Really quick bang out knits. And my son said he would be interested in learning how to knit. So I don't know, maybe I'll be teaching him how to knit soon. There will be 2 mitts, a regular hat, and then I was thinking I'll do a scarf with a nice, I'll pick out a cable pattern to put in the scarf. And let's see, this is in usually my sock knitting bag by Jan Smiley with the canoes, my favorite of all time bag. I wish I could get a bigger one. I don't know if she has fabric anymore for this. I also have my other favorite bag maker is Little Skein in the Big Wool. I love her bags, and I'm using both of them for the other projects. All right, so projects. So that isn't all I've been knitting on. I mentioned before in the last podcast that I would be participating in the design along with Shirley Padden, and it started on the 18th, just after Vogue Knitting Live, and I'm really so stoked about this. So this will be my first sweater I've ever designed. I've been wanting to design a sweater. I kind of, in the past, have shown you swatches of a kind of sweater I had an idea for with the Jill Draper Make Stuff Rockwell yarn that I just couldn't get, and I have taken a couple of classes in designing sweaters, and I'm just a little intimidated. So now, I haven't knit many sweaters, and the sweaters I have knit are very minimal in the shaping. And I have never done a capped sleeve or anything like that. They're always just regular drop shoulder sleeves, and very simple that way, even though like it might be Fair Isle, which is very intricate, or a yoke sweater, which has a lot of color work. The actual shaping is what I shy away from. So I'm going to show you what I've done so far. And if you're not interested, obviously you can, you know, just shut me off. But I submitted so far, what we've done is we've submitted kind of our design. She has us, and this is all going in line with her book, where we submit like our, she calls it her design profile, and she emailed it to us, and you just kind of describe what you want your garment to be like, who's it for, what do you envision for it, any special features that you would like to see on it. Like I want pockets, and I wanted like a cowl neckline, and I envisioned something bulky and outdoorsy. And then what she did is she sent, gosh, I think she sent a total of at least 10, maybe 15 different stitch patterns that she's used in her designs. And she asked you to choose stitch patterns. You can build on the stitch pattern, you can break it apart and use only pieces of it. She really wants you to put your own interpretation on it. And she asked that you take that stitch pattern and do some sketches. So I did some sketches. This is the first one I did. I chose a Fair Isle snowflake pattern, and I kind of saw it going up the middle, and then with these pockets. This is going to be like an outer garment sweater, not like a sweater you'd wear inside, but something you'd wear outside to keep warm. I wanted the high cowl, something that tights, it had a little tie on it, so you could like pull it up and tie it around you to keep you warm if you needed to block out the wind. The only thing with this one was I couldn't think of a way to integrate the color work because it's going up and down like that. You could always knit the color work panel separately and like sew it on. And I definitely have no problems thinking that I could accomplish that, but I didn't want the sweater pattern to be complicated and something that people would be intimidated by. And so that kind of stuff doesn't intimidate me, but it might intimidate somebody else. I might make something like this just for myself. And what I would do is I would knit the Fair Isle flat, which most people don't like to do. I've done it before, and I don't have a problem knitting Fair Isle flat. So I ditched that design, and then I thought I could take the snowflake pattern, I could make a big snowflake, and then little and little and little, and have it go around the base of the sweater, and then build the pocket off of that. And then to add some texture, put some, that's seed stitch, supposed to be seed stitch. Put that all over the body and sleeves. And then what I'll do is I'll just put a little color work at the top of the collar and at the end of the sleeves. And this is the one I'm going with. And that's the sketch I submitted. I will do this shape sleeves. Drop shoulder sleeves would have been easier, but I just felt I have the opportunity to be mentored by Shirley Padden, so I'm going to do the complicated stuff that I'm, kind of afraid of, so she can help me, right? If I have problems, her and the whole crew are there to help. So I did show you last time one of my swatches that I did from the Cascade Eco. And I thought that the fabric was a little too thin and not flimsy, but just a little too thin for what I was looking for an outdoor sweater. But I also started swatching around at a tighter gauge. So this is the original gauge I knit, and you can see it's just like, you stretch it out. And here on a tighter gauge, it's a little better, because I want something really warm and rugged. This still might do, I don't know yet. here it is in the original swatch, and you can see also that the Fair Isle section is much tighter than the other section. It was the same needle, so I would have to, in my pattern, make sure that I go up a needle size when I start the Fair Isle section. So this is still not out of the running. The other problem with the Eco is that there's a limited availability of colors. So it would have to be like a 2-color thing, whereas I found some other great yarns that did have a wider array of colors. So it still might be the Eco and the Eco Plus, I'm not sure. I have to do a bigger swatch, and I have to do it in the seed stitch just to really get a better idea. So I did go looking for other options in yarn, because like I said, I really wanted a more rugged yarn. I was looking for a heavy worsted weight or bulky weight yarn, because it's going to be a big sweater. I wanted a lot of fluff and loft in it to keep you warm. And I thought, I remembered knitting mittens for my mom with piece fleece, and it was color work, and it came out really nice, and it was very thick and warm. So I ordered from Piece Fleece these 2 colors. It's worsted weight. You can see the colors are beautiful. Just to knit a nice big swatch with. And but this is a little thinner. This has got that ruggedness. It's worsted spun. It's warm. I like that it's kind of scratchy and fuzzy, but it's a little thinner than I wanted. But this is my favorite so far. Like, I want to make this work because I really like knitting with this yarn. I also I saw a post by Laura Nelkin she designed a sweater in this Harrisburg bulky weight yarn, and I hope I didn't forget the I forgot. Oh, this is their Turbine, which is their bulky weight. This is a very dark navy called Canal. It's got lots of color in it. It's heathered. And I started a swatch with the bulky weight. I love this yarn. I don't think this is going to be the one for a number of reasons. So here it is. I started knitting it up. I didn't think it would look good with, I wasn't sure if it would look good with Fair Isle patterning, but it actually looks pretty good. I'm knitting in the round because the sweater will be knit in the round, so I have to swatch in the round, which means I will have to cut it, which kind of stinks because then I can't reuse the yarn, but that's the important thing to do. The reason why I don't think this will be the best yarn for what I have in mind is the thickness of the fabric, and it is extremely stiff, so it stands right up. And if you recall in my sketch, I had the cowl. I want the cowl to have a little bit of drape to it. I don't want it to be like totally loose where it's totally down against the shoulders. I want it to be able to stand up and everything, but I also want it to be able to pull over your head, and I want it to fall nicely. And this fabric is knitting up so stiff that it won't do that. The only thing I could do is make it a shorter cowl so that it stands up, but then it would just be impossible to get down unless I knit it with a bigger needle. And I am going to try swatch with a bigger needle. This is size 11 right now, and I might go up a needle size just to see how the fabric is if I do. But right now, as much as I love the colors and this yarn, and I will be knitting with this yarn again, I don't think it's quite the right fit for this sweater, but I am going to still continue knitting, complete the Fair Isle section, and then do another swatch with the moss stitch just to finish it, and just to be sure it's not going to be what I want. But I really was looking for something bulky like this, and it is nice and fluffy like I wanted, and maybe with a bigger needle it will be more what I'm looking for. Like I said, the Piece Fleece, while it's my favorite yarn, It's just, and it's worsted, but it's just so thin that it will take forever to knit that sweater. And can you, and I have, the body is moss stitch, which is because I wanted a nice texture. Can you imagine knitting a whole big outdoors, like outer garment sweater with this worsted weight yarn? So I'm thinking it might be the Cascade Eco, because it's a little thicker than the worsted, but it's not quite as thick as the bulky, so the color work section is still very drapey, a little drapey, just drapey enough. Joanna Spring bag, by the way. Another Joanna Spring bag, by the way. But I haven't knit it yet in the seed stitch, so I think it will knit up faster because it's a little thicker. It's very soft and drapey though, and I'm afraid, like, I want a sweater you can play around outside in, sit on a rock with, and I don't want something that's going to be pilling and wearing out quick. And the Eco is kind of weak. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not spun tight. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't see it being rugged enough. So I'm a little torn, but it's going to be one of these three. I haven't started knitting up the piece fleece yet, so I can't count it out. And I knit the mittens for my mom with it, and it was a nice it turned out to be a nice fabric, so I don't know. And one more announcement as far as designing and patterns, and that is the Awakening Cowl that I designed. I made the original with my homespun and gave that to my daughter for Christmas. I finished writing up the pattern this weekend. I've been working on it all weekend. And let me tell you something. And I know you probably hear it. This isn't the first time you've heard it. It takes a lot of time and it is very expensive to publish a pattern. So here is my first version of the pattern using Jameson wool. So the costs include not only all the yarn you had to buy to do swatches, all right. Yes, you get some finished products out of it, but you know, a lot of it you don't use, like that. Those 3 skeins of Harrisville yarn I bought, the turbine. I probably won't use them for the sweater, but it's taken 2 skeins, which was $30, just to swatch with it. $30 just to swatch. I forget how much the piece fleece costs. So you see how to find the right material, you have to invest in different yarns, you have to take the time to knit up swatches. I knit this up and then decided after I knit it that I don't want the 1x1 ribbing, I want 2x2 ribbing. So yeah, I can use this cowl myself personally, and I could take a close-up of the color work section for the pattern display on the pattern, but I can't use this as a sample for the pattern because it's not going to be exactly as the pattern's written. And you can't photograph something that is not knit exactly as the pattern is written. So I have to knit another one. However, I still have sent the written pattern to my tech editor. I have my charts made up, and I need to take photographs, and then I can publish the pattern. And it will be a free pattern. And I'm not trying to guilt anybody. I'm just trying to help you understand that, you know, even for a simple pattern that you look at and you say, well, I could copy that, or that, it does take a lot of time and work. So don't knock it. That's all I'm trying to say. Appreciate the work. So here are the 3 color versions that I'll be charting up in the pattern. So I had to buy all this yarn, and I played around with the color, and I found 3 colors that I liked. 3 color mixtures that I like. And I think the sample that I'm going to knit is this one, and that will be like the main cowl on the cover, and then these 2 will be just there as alternate versions, and I'll just do a close-up of the stitch pattern so you can see the colors and decide which one you like. And it takes a total of 8 skeins of Jamieson's yarn, 2 in the white, and then the colors for the color work. If you want to make more than one, and again, I was also thinking of designing a hat too with this. Maybe I'll do that next weekend. I don't know. If I design a hat pattern to go with it, I could, you could buy, you'd have to buy a little more white, but you could use more of the colors, which I think would be, actually maybe I'll do a hat and mitt cowl threesome, and just if you want all 3, you get, I don't know. We'll see. I'm really excited about this. I love Fair Isle, and I'm really excited that this pattern is coming out soon, and it will be free. At least the cowl will. If I do more, I might charge more for the set. I don't know. We'll see, just to cover my tech editing costs, because that adds up. And even if your pattern's free, I feel it's important to have it tech edited. And I have 2 people that volunteered as test knitters for this, so hopefully that will be enough. If you're interested, let me know, and I will send you the pattern for test knitting. And then it will be published. All right, so that's it, folks. That's all I have to share with you. I hope you enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday, or whatever it is you do on Super Bowl Sunday. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye now.